I'm proudly here to say I'm married to my lovely wife, Renata. It's actually going to be our 10th year anniversary this Thursday, August the 12th. And I have 2 children, my son Douglas and my daughter Stephanie. And I really take a business approach to politics. And not so much as government should be in the business for making money like the private sector does, but the customer service is lacking severely at City Hall. And I return every single phone call, I respond to every single email that comes into my office. And when you hear that, Rob Ford's returned 200,000 phone calls, and Rob Ford's made 10,000 home visits in 10 years of being in politics, I have. I do return people's phone calls on Christmas Day. The last few years, there was a huge snowstorm, if you remember. And people were paralyzed. Their relatives couldn't get in. So I had to do what I could do on Christmas Day. I give up my home phone number. Everyone tonight will get a fridge magnet with my home phone number on it and a business card. And it's customer service is number 1. On top of customer service, it's the spending. The spending, ladies and gentlemen, is completely out of control down at City Hall. When I was first elected in the year 2000, we had a budget of $5.2 billion. Now, with our operating capital budget combined, it's $11.6 billion. Now, I'm asking you as a taxpayer in the last 10 years, have you got double the value for your tax dollar? Absolutely not. Have you paid much more in taxes? Absolutely not. So again, I'm going to go back to how I started. We have a spending problem at City Hall, not a revenue problem. As a councillor, I make $100,000 a year. I take home every Friday net $1,400. On top of that, what is very disturbing is the so-called expense account that everybody hears about. They call it an office budget. I call it a tax-free expense account of $53,000. And just recently, a councillor had a retirement party that cost $12,000. Now everyone thought, you're going to sell tickets, you spend, $20 or $30, you buy a ticket, like you do with your friends, or like you do in the private sector, you have a party for someone who retires. There's nothing wrong with that. But then we found out he was taking the $12,000 out of the taxpayer's pocket. I have a problem with that. And it might not be the amount of money, $12,000 is a lot to us, but on the grand scheme of things, $11.6 billion, it's not. But it's the principle of it all, ladies and gentlemen. And when I went to the floor of council last month and said, I want Councillor Ray to pay this money back, they said, no, they're ruling it out of order because you're allowed to do it. So I got up and I said, Madam Clerk, I just want to clarify something. You're telling me that if I want to spend my $53,000 on a party, I can. She goes, absolutely. That's a problem. I don't think anyone minds having legitimate expenses. When you think of an office budget, you think of pens, papers, whatever, letterhead, business cards, etc. That's legitimate. Postage. But when you hear about hotels, limousines, parties, restaurants, free gas, all coming out of this $53,000, we have a problem. And you multiply that out by 44 councillors. Okay, you're looking at millions of dollars that can be used to help out single mothers. Like my father was brought up in a single-parent household. So I saw how hard my grandmother worked. Obviously, they were growing up by the time I was born. But I heard the trials and tribulations. The money can be used to fixing up our roads, to improve our transit system, to improve some of the social issues that we have in the city. But if we don't start from the top, it's a monkey see, monkey do attitude. And civil servants sit here and say, well, if you guys do it, why can't we? And there's 44 of us on I call the board of directors of a huge corporation. It's the City of Toronto. And I think it's important that we lead by example. And we just found out there was credit cards. There's 1,254 credit cards, 1,254 MasterCards that city employees have. So we just got a bill that came to the audit committee and said, here, pay the $9 million. Nobody knew knew, I've been in council for 10 years, no one knew that the city bureaucrats had these MasterCards. And I said, okay, who has the credit cards? Give me the names of the employees that do have the credit cards. No, confidential information. Okay. I said, then if you can't tell me the name, what are they spending it on? No, that's confidential information. I said, really? But the bill of $9 million is not confidential information, is it? They said, approve it. No, I wasn't going to approve it. I wasn't going to approve spending your money on a person that I did not know, and items which can't be accounted for. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of where I want true transparency and accountability to come in. Because again, if you give your credit card or you give money to your son or your daughter or whoever it may be in your family and they come home with a bill and say, give me back $200, the first thing you're going to say is, where did you spend your $200? That's all we're asking. And that's all I want government to do. Is to have truly a transparent and accountable policy for the dollars that are being spent. And there isn't any. We're $3 billion in debt. We've been hit with a $60 car registration tax if you drive, which is completely unfair. We're the only municipality in North America that has that. I don't mind paying $90 to the province. But since when does the City of Toronto have jurisdiction in a provincial body of the Ministry of Transportation? The land transfer tax. You buy or sell homes. It hurts young people moving in. It hurts seniors that want to downsize when they want to sell the house and the kids have moved on. But they're going to go and move into a condo. Yet they're paying $20,000 in tax. Okay? I really think we have to start somewhere to try to get the private sector involved in delivering some services. For example, garbage. And in Etobicoke alone, we have private garbage collection. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is not anti-union or pro-union. It has nothing to do with that. It's, let's go out and bid on some jobs. Get 3 quotes on some jobs. So what we did in 1994, before we amalgamated, we said, garbage now delivered in-house, meaning from there, that's fine. But we're going to go out to the private sector and see what sort of money we can get. What sort of cost was it really? The cost went from here to here. We save, ladies and gentlemen, $2 million every year on private garbage collection in Etobicoke. And we've never had a strike in the last 20 years. And people may say, well, the private sector goes on strike too. You're absolutely right, they do. But they also have the power to subcontract it out. But the 40-day strike that we had last year killed us. And it still has put a black eye on the map when it comes to Toronto. It hurt tourism, it hurt businesses, it hurt employees' paychecks, it hurt everybody, and it was not needed. So as mayor, I'm going to look at contracting out garbage pickup, because I believe that we can save $15 to $20 million a year, and I can almost assure you there will not be a strike. But we've had 4 garbage strikes in 10 years. We cannot have that. We cannot have people holding the city hostage. I go back, and then we're going out, the largest purchase in Toronto's history was last year. $750 million purchase for subway cars. So you would think that when you, any purchase for that matter, but the largest purchase in Toronto's history, you would get 3 bids. You would get competitive quotes, just like you do, again, in your own personal household. You go out, you're going to buy a fridge, you're going to buy a couch. You don't buy the first one you see. You're going to shop around and find out, what's the best price and the best quality for that price. There's many, many people that supply subway cars around the world. There's thousands of subway systems around the world. So what did we do? We sole sourced it to Bombardier. I'm the first one to protect Canadian jobs. But at a cost of $200 million, Siemens came into my office and said, Rob, why can't we bid on this? We can do this for $550 million. I know a lot of people would say, I don't mind spending a few $1,000s more to protect Canadian jobs. Absolutely, I'm the first one to agree with that. But to spend $200 million when you're $3 billion in debt and not even go out for a competitive bid, I think there's a problem there, ladies and gentlemen. That cost us $200 million. And then right after we go out and spend $45 million on renovating Nathan Phillips Square, if there was cracks and you couldn't use the square, then I would say, yes, we have a problem.